Busy day, wild day. NCAA Tournament action here in Philly. Jody Mac hanging out with you. I'll roll till 2. As we know, the Temple Owls came up short, but LaSalle came up huge. They're moving on to the Sweet 16. We thank John Giannini for hopping on with us about half an hour ago. That was a heck of a win for LaSalle, and it's good to know one of the universities here in town will be playing in the Sweet 16. My next guest has been busy as well. First, he had to watch Temple, and that had to be tough, go down. And then he ran down to the Wells Fargo and covered both of the games tonight. And while we're excited about LaSalle, down in Fort Myers, Florida, I'm guessing they're a little excited, too, with what Florida Gulf Coast is doing. They win again tonight. Joining me from WHIP Radio, Temple's online station, Mr. Zach Gelb. Zach, appreciate a couple minutes of your time. Before we talk about what you saw down at the Wells Fargo tonight, where'd you watch today's Temple game? I got to punch Zach
I'm
up.
over on campus, and that was a game today that Temple, it was very similar to what happened over in Kansas earlier in the season. Scooty Randall didn't finish off his year as he would have liked it. It was very reminiscent of how Rolir Alice Jefferson played in that Kansas game. And Jody, you look at Scooty Randall, they couldn't take him off the court because he was such a big-time factor on defense, but to go 0-12 today, that's just inexcusable. And as well as the rest of the team, besides Khalif Wyatt from the field, was 9 of 38. You can't win too many basketball games shooting that way. No,
he tried to do it by himself, and who could blame him? Because he was the only guy who could buy a shot all day. And they had a chance late. They had the game late, as bad as their shooting was. As you mentioned, Scooty Randall 0 for 12. O'Brien hit nothing. Cummings hit nothing. 0 for 21 between the three of them, and they still had a chance late. But you got to give some credit to the Indiana squad. They are a number 1 seed for a reason, and Oladipo came up big with all of the effort that he was putting in, trying to keep White off the scoreboard on the defensive end. For him to come up and hit that big 3 was basically a heartbreaker for the Owls.
Yeah, Wyatt outplayed Oladipo today, but that final shot killed the Temple Owls, and you have to really wonder defensively. I know some people are getting on Dumpy for not fouling there. I like the call, but you can't give a wide-open 3 there because once that basket goes in, you're up by 4 and that game's over. But Khalif Wyatt played a heck of a game today. He should hang his head up very high. He should not be hanging his head down low whatsoever. But they put a lot of pressure on Khalif this year. When they went in that stretch, they lost to Duquesne and a few other teams before they went on a 7-game win streak. Too much of the offense was going to Khalif. Not enough guys were stepping up, and it also didn't help that Jake O'Brien and Anthony Lee were in foul trouble today going up against Zeller.
Agreed. And I wasn't overly impressed by Zeller. I think he's a starting NBA center. I don't think he's going to be a star NBA center. And I actually thought they did a pretty good job of containing him. Now that the season's in the books, again, a tremendous A-10 regular season, maybe the best the A-10's ever been as far as depth to a conference goes. Moving on to whatever they're going to call the new basketball conference that Temple's going to be in next year, the former Big East. Do you think this is the kind of season the Owls can build on moving forward, going to a new conference?
Well, they lose a lot, and it's all going to start with where Rasheed Jordan is going to school. He's down to his final 3. He's a top 25 player in the nation. It's down to UCLA, St. John's, and Temple. So if Dumpty could go out and get him, I expect this team to be much better. But you lose Khalif Wyatt, you lose Jake O'Brien, Scooty Randall. It's going to be curious to see what these young guys do. And we all know Dumpty doesn't like to play freshmen as much and gives them inconsistent minutes. But a guy from New York by the name of Daniel Dingle, watch out for him.
Yep.
Quentin DeCozy from New Jersey, need to watch out for him as well. And the most intriguing part to me is what are they going to get out of Devontae Watson, who is a big man down low. He needs to bulk up a little bit in the offseason, just like Anthony Lee did this past year. But if they don't get Rasheed Jordan, you have to look at it as a lot of pressure is going to be put on Josh Brown, who's coming in here from St. Anthony's, and as well as Will Cummings, who will be going into his junior year.
Yeah, they're going to be young next year, but and you're right, Fran likes to bring guys along a little slower than some others. He doesn't try and give freshmen too many minutes. He may be forced to do just that next year. All right, so Temple loses. You get over. Has it been covering this Florida Gulf Coast team over the last 3 days?
It's the brand of basketball. It's something most people have never seen. They're loquacious. They talked to the announcers during the game. One of their players with 5 seconds left against Georgetown went over to them and was talking with Reggie Miller and Kevin Harlan during a timeout. They like to call it Dunk City, and one of their players by the name of Bernard Thompson at the end of the post-game press conference got up and he said Dunk City is coming to Texas as they get ready to take on Florida. And their coach, Andy Einfeld, he's done an incredible job. Year 2 for him, and he's turned this program around. And you look at the Florida basketball program right now in the NBA, you have the Miami Heat, and they have 3 teams still alive in the tournament in Florida, Florida Gulf Coast, and as well as Miami. It's a great time to be a Florida basketball fan, I would imagine.
And they've got they got basically the West Coast all to themselves, so more power to them. Yeah, they are Dunk City, and they're fun, and they're exciting, and they're excitable. A little cocky, though?
Well, that's what a lot of people said, and that's just their brand of basketball. The coach says, I'm very loose in practice. Their players are loose as well, but they said, when we go on the court, we're ready and we're focused, and that's just the brand of basketball that they have. You look at a guy like Sherwood Brown. If I was playing against him, he would tick me off with all the antics he does. But, hey, he goes out there, he backs it up, and this is a 15 seed. No 15 seed in the history of the tournament has got to the Sweet 16. Call it cocky, call it whatever you want. They're playing great basketball right now, and they're going to be a tough out when they go up against Florida.
Zach Gelb from WHIP Radio, Temple's online radio station, here with us on 94 WIP. We already talked to him about the Owls. Now we're talking about the 2 games down in Philly tonight, and Florida Gulf Coast, Zach just mentioned, first 15 seed ever to move on to the final 16. And they get the aforementioned Gators in the next round. This is a team that doesn't need motivation. They are as motivated a group as you're going to find, and I'll use the word cocky a group as you're going to find. So I think that another team might be able to get motivation against playing Florida. I don't know that that's the case, but I don't know that they need it. Good or bad thing that they're matching up against Florida in the next round?
I think it's a good thing, and I think there's a lot of respect for them. They're playing with house money at this point. No one even thought they'd get out of the first round up against Georgetown. And Sherwood Brown, this guy's turning into a mini celebrity. During the Duke game tonight, he was in the concession stands area, and you just saw 300-400 people legit go up to the concession stands, not even care about the Duke Creighton game, and they were sitting there watching this guy sign autographs, take pictures. So what Andy Einfeld needs to do now is he has to continue to get his team focused. There's going to be a plethora of media requests this week, and these something that this team hasn't seen all year. And I think they're up for the task, and they respect Florida. They know them very well. Billy Donovan winning 2 championships after the game. These players were talking about what it was like growing up, seeing Joakim Noah and a plethora of other players watch this team come through and develop. And it's going to be a good one. This team's fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly right. Zach Gelb here with us on 94 WIP. Last question on that game. Was there a sighting of Mrs. Einfeld?
Yes, there was actually. Once when I ended up the post-game stuff, I saw Coach there with his wife, and she's a beautiful woman. Let's say that, Jody.
Yes, former model, and more power to Coach. He's got a winner, and he's a winner when he gets home, too. More power to him. All right, late game, of course, was Duke. They took care of my Great Danes earlier in the week, who hung tough, who didn't roll over and die. They were overmatched, outmatched, and that's the way the game ended up. But it figured to be a little bit more of a competitive game tonight. I guess it was for the first half. We're watching the LaSalle game, and then by that time, I'm on the air, so I couldn't hunker down on that game. How did Duke eventually blow it out and blow it open tonight against their opponent that now puts them in the final 16?
Well, Echenike had a nice game for Creighton, but he could have done a little bit more. McDermott did his best effort going out there getting 20-plus points. This Duke team just had too much depth, whether it was Plumlee, Kelly, or Curry tonight, and you just saw Duke. It was kind of funny sitting here in the stadium. It was just such a pedestrian game, and it just seemed like the wind was sucked out of this place once Florida Gulf Coast got the victory, and just not too many people really wanted to stick around for this Duke game. Once you got into 10 minutes into the second half, the stadium did get really empty.
The wind gets sucked out of the arena before Duke plays. Did that have a prayer of happening when they announced the seedings and who was going to be playing here in Philadelphia?
No chance whatsoever. And this is what I tell everyone, because people call on my show and they go, who do you like in this bracket? And then I'll give them an answer. They'll be like, there's no chance a team like this could advance. here's the thing. It's March Madness. Anything could happen. And as you know, Jody, being back to your days at WFAN when they do those tournament pools, usually 9 times out of 10, it's the office secretary that wins the NCAA tournament pool. So anything can happen, Jody. That's the beauty of March.
I can guarantee you I'm not winning my pool. I've only got one of my Final Four teams left, and that was chalky Louisville. I know you liked Duke before the tournament started, and thought that they were the best team heading into the field of 64. Speaking of trying to make predictions, after the Albany win and beating Creighton, you still think Duke is the best team in the field?
I don't think they're the best team in the field, but I still think they'll have enough to get past Louisville. It's going to be interesting. That Midwest was tough going into it. St. Louis goes down. You have Oregon going up against Louisville, and then Michigan State and Duke. Tom Izzo's teams are always legendary in March. But I'll stick with my championship pick of Duke going up against Miami, with the Duke Blue Devils winning another championship under Coach K.
Zach, great stuff. Appreciate you coming on board for a couple minutes. Thanks, bud.
Anytime, Jody Mack. You're the best.
Zach Gelb from WHIP Radio, Temple's online radio station, does a talk show for them and gets out and reports for a couple of different outlets.